to DBS and the DFL studio, along with my guest, Dr. George Joseph, the Chief Veterinary Officer, and Michael Bobb, the Chief Forestry Officer. We're going to discuss the various attitudes we have towards animals, and if we think they're negative, we'll discuss how we can change them into positives. Doctor, could you just tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and your role, so people can understand what it is you are meant to do and your department is meant to do?
Okay, as the head of the department of the Veterinary Livestock Services Division, our responsibility or main role is to, well, we want to make so the custodian of animal health, welfare, and production in St. Lucia. We are also responsible for the meats that you consume, the safety of those meats, any animal coming into St. Lucia or animal products, also to make sure that the animals or animal products coming into St. Lucia are safe for consumption and doesn't pose a risk for human health or animal health as it may be. The aspect of production also responsible for making sure that the production that is being addressed is within the confines or the purview of the protocols established by the department. And that speaks of the production protocols to make sure that the end product, which is the meat produced or the eggs produced from those livestock, are quality meats and does not pose any threat for human health. Sometimes we say to people that we are also the custodians of human health, and some people may laugh at it, but we consume quite a lot of meat in St. Lucia. And if the meat that you consume is not healthy, our health is based basically on what we eat, what we consume.
And I think we're going to talk a lot more about that later, because you spoke earlier of some very interesting facts in relation to animals, a number of animals in relation to animal welfare and human welfare. So we're going to be talking about that a little later. But Mr. Bobb, tell us a bit about your role as a Chief Forestry Officer.
Well, my role as the Chief Forest Officer is the complete protection of the natural environment in St. Lucia, and that extends from mountain to reef. And we know that the most important resource of St. Lucia is the land and the water. And you know exactly what happens, especially in dry seasons and during the hurricane season. And we have the mandate to protect that resource. And we need to look at that resource. Not only takes care of the land and water, but also wildlife. And wildlife would be the birds and the bees and the snakes and everything else around it. So that is the most important element that the forestry department has to do in terms of the protection of the natural resource. And that also, water is life. Without water, the whole state can get into chaos. And so we are entrusted under the Soil and Water Conservation Act and the Wildlife Act to be custodians of this very important resource, which we have to protect not only for ourselves, but for generations to come.
When we think of St. Lucia, a lot of people think, St. Lucia, simply beautiful. We think of tourism, but from the two of you have said so far, I'm actually thinking, my gosh, this is so important. The areas that you both cover is so important. I wouldn't say more than tourism, but in a way I would, because if anything goes wrong in either of the departments, we are faced with national disasters. And I think that a lot of us, we take a lot of things for granted. And in my introduction, I spoke about the way people ill-treat animals, and they laugh at it as well. They don't understand that these animals, they have feelings, but it's not just that how important their well-being is to us, society, as human beings as a whole. I know that earlier we were speaking about a very special report with with who you were talking. Can you maybe tell our viewers a little bit more about that, Dr. George?
Referring to the diseases?
Disease, yes.
Okay. And again, too, persons may find it very, very strange. 60% of all human diseases, the origin is of animals. And that's what we refer to as zoonotic diseases. And hence the reason of the importance of the veterinary authority in any jurisdiction. If those diseases are not being controlled from its point of origin, which is the animal, could you imagine what fiasco we're going to have on our hands? Because if it is not addressed from that perspective, then the physicians, the hospitals, they're going to end up with so much on the plate that they can't bite.
You know, when we see meat, you know, in our supermarkets, what's that process that it goes through? Because I think a lot of people may just think, well, the animal is slaughtered, perhaps it's cleaned, and then it's packaged. What's the process?
Okay. For us in St. Lucia, if an animal is being slaughtered locally for commercial purposes, and we need to make that distinction, for commercial and for domestic, for household use. If you have an animal that you farm, you care for, and decide to slaughter it for your own home consumption, that animal is not subjected to ante-mortem or post-mortem inspection. It's not a must. If you make the request, fine, we will grant you the services to get it done, but it's not obligatory that it is done. If it is for commercial purposes, that animal has to be subjected to what we call ante-mortem inspection to make sure that animal is fit for slaughter. After the animal has been slaughtered, the carcass is now inspected, what we call post-mortem inspection, to make sure that that meat is safe for human consumption and doesn't pose any health risk. So the meat that we see at the supermarkets or at the butcher shops, those meats were subjected to both ante-mortem and post-mortem inspection.
And what period of time would they have had to, the whole process be?
The ante-mortem inspection is done not more than 24 hours before slaughter. And the ante-mortem and the post-mortem is done after slaughter, before that animal is being directed to sale or consumption. It has to pass the post-mortem test before the butcher can now sell that carcass as meat to the person.
And we do that on a large scale, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And if we're doing this on a large scale and we're a small island, it seems that we're doing pretty good in that area of, at least, because we hear all the time, you know, international concerns of different diseases and so on and so forth. We haven't really had large outbreaks of anything too concerning, have we, really?
No, and we can pride ourselves with this. St. Lucia has one of the best, what we refer to as SPS, which is the fire sanitary status in the world, believe it or not. In that our animal health status is extremely, extremely, extremely good. We don't have any serious health concerns here. What we may find manifesting are some parasitic diseases, some metabolic diseases, reproductive diseases. That's about it. But we don't have the serious diseases that other countries have. And to let you know again that we do not vaccinate for not one livestock disease in St. Lucia. Zero.
Yeah, but I just wanted to butt in there, Dr. Joseph, and we were saying that if I have a cow, which is a family, and it's we get into Easter, and I would slaughter that cow, we would not have necessarily any inspections done, but is there any educational program that you would tell me in terms of proper sanitation measures to make sure that after I slaughter or kill that cow, that it's okay? You know, because to me there can be a gap in terms of the method that I would use in slaughtering that animal for me, and maybe giving my brother, sister a piece of that animal. You know, is there any safety measures that we could still tell the general public in terms of the do's and don'ts if you're still doing your own stuff?
Okay, what we normally do during the festive seasons, like Christmas, Easter, where you have mass slaughtering of animals for consumption. We team up with the animal health, with the public health department, and we go out. We do antemortem and postmortem jointly. Okay. So if you, as a member of a household, you have a cow that you want to slaughter, you can call in, let us know, and the officers would go in, do the antemortem, and also the postmortem for you as well.
I was concerned about that, you know, because I remember as a child, you know, I used to hear a lot, especially in the countryside, that, you know, they're going to slaughter, you know, a pig, or you're going to, you know, kill livestock. And I never saw, maybe as a child, maybe I wasn't looking, you know, I didn't see any of those things. But I think that there are people who take chances, but so far it appears that we are doing it
pretty well.
Yeah, we're doing it pretty well.
Outside of this as well, we, as part of our work program, we have what we call clinics, and that is throughout the width and breadth of St. Lucia. And we have surveillance activities to make sure that the health status is sustained. So even before you may find a disease manifesting, because of our work programs, our clinics, our surveillance, ambulatory programs, if something was in the air, we'd have picked it up long before.
And these clinics are predominantly for farmers?
Yes.
Right,
yes.
Okay. And that's another thing, I mean, farmers, you know, are very proud people. I've seen and I've spoken to them, and they're very particular about the things that they do. And sometimes I wonder, how can they, I've seen them so close to the animals that they rear, how could they actually raise them and then kill them? And I've got an interesting story to tell our viewers about that. But before we go into our break, tonight's giveaway: what is the name of the world's smallest snake that is only found in St. Lucia? What is the name of the world's smallest snake that is only found in St. Lucia? The question is on DolorFactorLive.com, Facebook, Dolor Factor Live TV show, and BBM and WhatsApp profiles. So make sure you stay with DBS and Dolor Factor Live. We'll be right back.